Welcome back. In today's episode, we are continuing with our invoice. We did a lot of work in the last episode. We worked on the print download functionality. It was so nice to implement. So before I start, let me also take this opportunity to thank those ones who have genuinely subscribed to my YouTube channel, and we are really moving so well. And I want to thank those ones who are commenting on the videos. If there is anything you want me to change in the way I record, or if there's something, don't hesitate to comment. I know my gear is still really not that big. I don't even have a mic. I simply just record using the PC. So you will at least bear with me with the quality at this point. But putting like timestamps, I am just trying to put timestamps in all of my videos, and even putting the guides that we use in these videos. So I'm really welcome to those ones who comment in the comment section, and they help me improve what I can do better for you guys. With that out of the way, we just go back to our project. There are two things I want to work on before we go back to where we stopped last time. So we have we have one bag in our project, and then before that bag I also added two things. You have to notice I added the notes. I remember in the last episode I told you guys to go ahead and add the notes and terms and conditions. Okay, I want you to add terms and conditions. Okay, I want you to add terms and conditions. That one would be so nice. So I've added these two. I'm just going to show you what I did. So on the page, if you go below the form, so we have these company details, client details, and then we have this table. So below the table I put two divs. Okay, and in each of the div there is a label and a text area, and you can just notice like these are text areas by seeing them here. So I have the labels and text areas, so you can just go ahead and put a label. Okay, and where you grab this, you can just go to Flowbyte and you just simply type in here text area. Just type in text area, just like that, and then click on text area. They will bring you to this place here. Scroll to the text area. So the text area is here. I just grabbed this, I changed this, I changed the label, I changed the text area. So the label, I named this one, for instance, HTML for notes, and these ones are class name. And then so this one is notes, and then here I have it ID of notes, rows 2, the name notes, and then I gave it also on change. Okay, on change we have under input, then we have form data.notes. We did that. You already know how we did all those ones. Okay, and then the same thing I did to the second one. So the second one is the label for terms and conditions, so I named it terms, and then you just go here and say terms and conditions, and then here we have text area, and then we have text area terms rows, terms rows 2. So class name, where is the class name? First of all, change these ones to class name. Wherever we have class, just change them to class name, and then even here change it to class name. Okay, so after getting them in the form here, that means that we have to go on top here and we update them. I waited for you guys to update them, so we can just come and first of all we can add them here in the state. So I can add two things, the terms and then the notes, just like that. So I've added these to the state, and then you don't need to worry anything else, because everything we are doing, we are getting it from this from the form data state. Okay, we are getting them from the form data, so adding them there means that we have added them in here, because you see handle input change, we have name and value, so automatically we are getting them from the form data. Okay, that is one thing. I think that one should be enough. Okay, and then another thing is that on the preview, that means we have to capture them on the preview, because when you go on the preview, so where is our table? Sorry for that. Where is our table? The just scroll down to this. So you see we have this form preview. We send there the combined data. Okay, so if you just go to form, I don't think is the, yeah, so the preview. So when you go to the preview, we have this data, and we destructure everything from the data. So you have to go ahead and also destructure terms. So down here you can just say terms, and then you can also put comma notes. Okay, so you have also to go to this preview place. So on the preview, you are receiving this data that we are sending here on the page, this one. So here on the form preview, you can just go ahead and get them here. So after getting them here, I also created the, if you go to the preview page, I also added them there, not print, just on the preview. So on the preview, you see I have added two things, the notes and terms, and I have rorem there. So I just added the same two divs here, and then I also added this footer powered by. You can just add this. This is really not hard at all. I'm just going to show you. So below the table, so you see we have this table and all these details here. Just simply scroll. Let me show you. So below the table, so you have the preview table where we are passing in the table data, and then we have the notes. So I have the same. I put this div with the width full and margin of y6, and then I have two p tags, the one for the heading, which is notes, and the one that is going to hold this. So here I'm just going to remove this. Okay, and I'm just going to put notes. So just say notes. So that is for the notes, and the second one I'm just going to put terms. So instead of putting rorem here, I'm just going to come and put terms. Yep, so I'm just say terms, just like that, terms. Okay, so that is it. So I also put here a div down here with a margin top of 12 flex, and then I gave it justify end to make sure it is at this extreme end here. Okay, so you can just go ahead and do this. So that is the first thing that I put, and with that, by the way, let me just open two things. Let me just open here a new tab, and in the new tab I'm just going to run before I run that, I want to show you that we have not added that in our Prisma. So just open the Prisma schema, and we have to add those two things inside the invoice. So they're not inside the table, they are inside the invoice. So that means under the invoice we have to add those things. So wherever you wish, you can just add them at the end here. And we are adding notes, which is actually a string. Okay, so here you can just add string. You don't need even all this space. You can just simply add notes, and then just add up here like string. This is a string, and then down here we can also add terms. Okay, and this is also a string. Okay, so these are the two things. Now if we do this, we might need to again run npx. So just say npx run npx, I think is npx prisma migrate dev. I think that's the command, something like that. Npx prisma migrate dev, and I'm just going also to open my, so quickly I just want to go and open, let me just go and open, I still want to look at this page. So I'm just going to open Supabase very fast. Okay, I just want to open Supabase. Let's just go and we look at the, I don't know, I think we just created it as Invoice app, and I just want to look at the tables. So let me just see, this command is it haven't run. So if I click on the tables, I want to see the tables. If you look at the invoice, okay, so up to this point we don't have you see they're not there. We have the ID, timestamp, blah blah, we don't have them. So we just want, we have to update this, and we are updating it using this command of npx. Okay, this npx prisma migrate dev. This one is going to help us push the changes that we have in our Prisma schema, and that's because we added the terms and the notes. Okay, let's just give this one some few seconds. It is going to push this. Okay, and of course after pushing this, I will also run the Prisma Studio to check if it has worked. Okay, so they are saying enter the name of my the migration. I don't know if this is going to replace the other one. Maybe update the create invoice table. I'm not sure why it is asking me again this, but just see if it is going to create another migration or is going to replace this one. So it has created another migration, and your database is in sync. Okay, let's just go ahead and run npx Prisma Studio. So this one is going to start our studio so that we can look at what we have in the database. Yeah, this is a good way of looking at what you have in the in your database. Instead of scrolling and looking at this, we can have them in a browser where we can look at them really nicely. So let's just look at the invoice table. Okay, so the invoice table has company name, invoice author, company blah blah, client. I just want to look at the terms. Okay, so we have them here, guys. So you have notes and we have terms. Okay, so this is good. And I also guess if you checked in this side, they are actually refreshing, and I think they must have added if they have refreshed. Yep, so you can see we have notes and terms. So that was good. We have updated, and that is the first thing that we have done so far. So we have updated. We make sure that our database has cater for notes and terms and condition, and we also have our footer. Okay, now there is one bug that we have to fix. Let me go here to show you the bug. So when you feed in everything, let's just feed in like this, and you go to here, you just put, for instance, here is 10, you put 30 here, and you put 20. You don't need to put anything actually here, you just put like 0. Okay, so just add the second one, web design. Just say this we add to whatever This one can be 10. So this is 200 plus 20, that is 320. So if I just come and click on create invoice, this no thanks, this looks okay, and actually it doesn't, it's not. So you can look at this plus this is giving us not a number. So this is where the bug is located. Okay, so troubleshoot this bug. Okay, troubleshoot what is the problem, definitely is on how we are adding this. I just want us to go ahead and console.log some of these things. So I want to go to where we have the page. So how our data moves is that after we have gotten the data, we send it via the table. So we get the data. After getting data from the form, we get this data and we send it to the preview. Okay, so we send data to the preview as combined. So if I click on the preview, it comes when it is combined. So we destructure this into two pieces. We have all the other data, and then we have the table data. So if we console.log table data at this point, and then when we get this table data, we go ahead and this table data, we send it to the if you scroll down, so we send it to the preview table data. It goes to the preview table. So let me open the preview table. So the preview table, we have our table data. Let me just go ahead and console.log in this place table data. Okay, so I'm just going to open this side here. Okay, so you can see we have these the rows here. Okay, we have our rows, just like two rows, and for each row it has the quantities and the prices. So the automatically, if you look at this bug, we have the data being received very well at this place here. The data is being received very well. So the problem comes on actually the summation on this. So we actually had I made a mistake on how we did the sum. So if you think about how the sum works, you have this table data, these are rows. Okay, these ones are rows. So when we do this, I interchange this thing here. So you always have two things. You have, when you do the sum of an array, so when you have an array, you have the accumulative. So this first item here in this function, the first one is the cumulative, which we can call the sum, and this one is actually the current item or the row. So if these are rows in the table, this table data, that means we inside the array of table data, we have rows. So inside we have the cumulative, and then we also have the row. Okay, so now what we want here is actually to first get the sum. Okay, so we could just come and say const sum, okay, is equal to pass float, okay, of row dot total. I think we have is total on this data. Let me just first have a this. Let me just have a look at this. This is unit price, yeah, of the amount, not total, of the amount. So here is amount. Okay, so we have this pass float of this. Now this is not the sum. Okay, So I just actually just see what's the problem here. Oh, okay, I think it is just like on the this is going to compile, I guess. Cannot reassign variable. Okay, so this one is the total. Let me just look into the notes. So if you just go to, when you go to this blog, if you don't have it, it's going to be in the link in the description. It's going to be in the description. So just scroll down to where there is fixing a total sum bug. Okay, so I put an example here. If we have the rows, these are the table data. So if you have this as table data, and then here we have total amount is going to be table data, just like that. And inside here we have the reduce method. We have access to the sum. So this first one is a cumulative, which is going to be the total sum, and then here is the row. So here we first get the amount. Okay, so we get the amount, which is row.amount, and if not this, then we say sum plus the amount. So that is good. So here this one is amount. Okay, so we have amount, and we just say if, let me first return this, remove this, return. So you see, if is not a number. Okay, if not a number of amount. Okay, if amount is literally is a number, here we are saying, we are checking it should not be not a number. Not a number is when it is undefined, or whatever we are just doing, whatever you are getting here is not a number. So if it's not, if this is not a number, we can just return. So here we can just have that sum. We can have the return. So we just say return sum plus amount. Okay, so we just do this. If this amount, by the way, this pass float is to convert this into a float, and then here we check if this is really actually an integer or is a float. And then after getting that, then at the end of the day, what we want to return after this is actually return sum. Okay, so it's going to be doing this, and then afterwards we return the sum. And then here we have to pass in comma 0. This one is to give the starting point of the sum. So when you pass 0 here, this sum is actually 0. So at the first time, it is going to be 0 plus amount. The second row, it will be whatever is now in the sum plus the amount, like that. Then at the end of the day, you return the cumulative. So you don't even to name this one sum. You can name something like accumulative, and then even here you replace it with accumulative. Everywhere it will still work, but just stick with the sum for purposes of understanding how this one moves. Okay, so now we have refactored this. Now it should be okay. It should be now okay. Let's just go ahead and now see. So I'm just going to go ahead and now go back to the form, and I'm just going to fill in. So the first one, I'm just going to first do this fake filler thing, and then here I'm just say logo design, and just say like 1, and then just say 2000 0. Okay, add the second one, which is maybe web design, and then this one 3. Let's just say 500, and just say 0. Okay, and then lastly just add the third one. This time let's say maybe business card. So you can just say business card, and then here just say 2, each at 100. So we have 2000 plus 1500 plus 200. This one is going to give us 3700, I guess. So just go ahead and create invoice, and we have not a number, is not a function. Let me just, I think there must be a space. Okay, I think there must be a space. Is guys, here is okay. The function that returns a boolean is not a number, so here is supposed to be not a number. That's why I normally create these guides. Okay, and you see how I put these ones, so that you see how I'm putting these references for you. You can use this in any other project, not necessarily in this one, but you can always take a reference of this. Okay, so just go ahead and take again, fill this, and just say logo design, and let's say this time 10, and let's say 100, and add the second item, web design, and let's say here one item at 1000, just like that. And you can just add this one 0, and just go ahead and submit. This time create invoice. Okay, so now we have the thing is calculated very well. We have 1000, and let's just confirm yes, and then this also 1000, which comes to 2000. And by the way, this, of course, the amount we get here, we can always give it to fixed. So if you check down where we are putting, we are coming here and we are putting, I guess, the amount. Let me see, where are we using this total sum? Let me just find this. So we have the total sum, and I want to say to fixed, so you can just say to fixed, and we can fix it to decimal places, 2 decimal places. And why I'm fixing it is that because these ones are in 2 decimal places, automatically even this one should be in 2 decimal places. Okay, so I've added this to fixed to make sure we have this one catered for. So that bug is solved. Okay, so the bug is solved. Now we have the working invoice. You can just go, and what the heck is this? So this when you are sliding here, this form, the form is on top, but is very easy to solve. Just go to your navbar, and simply to your navbar, where is the navbar? So the navbar is here. Make sure just give it a z index. Just give it a z index of 50. Okay, whatever, just here, just give it a z index of 50. This should solve the problem. This is a typical z index problem. Yeah, so you can see you have now this. Yeah, so that is, we have all the bugs fixed. Let's just now concentrate on saving this to the database. Okay, now having that one done, by that was great job, great done. Let's just now go ahead and get this data and want to save it to the database. Okay, so the first thing you are going to do, of course, we are going to create an API endpoint that is going to receive the data from the forms. So just go to app. In your app directory, just create the new folder, and just going to call it API. Okay, and then inside this API, I'm just going to create another folder called Invoice. So you could just call it Invoices or Invoice, but I just call it Invoice. And then inside the invoice, I'm just going to create a route. So just say route.js. Okay, just like that. And the first one we want, since we don't have the invoices, we are going to create a first function, which is export async function, function post. Okay, and then this post of course accepts the request that comes from the front end, and then you have things to be done from here. So this is the endpoint that is going to be receiving our form. So the data from the form must land onto this endpoint. Then from this endpoint we do many things. So let's just prepare the endpoint and see what we are going to send to the endpoint. Okay. And by the way, I have also in the guide I've prepared this part. Okay. More especially the part that in just in case you get any challenge or you want to revise, I always put in this guide so that you can actually get to understand this. Okay. So now after having done that, so we have our data. Let's just cross some of these things: previews, navbar, route, cross all these. Let's concentrate on one thing at a time, which is the page. So all our data is present in the page, and if you check about it, we have already done a great job. We have the combined data. Okay, so we have the handle submit, and in the handle submit it has all this data. Okay, now this data we want to put it in two parts. If you think about how we want to save it, if you go to our Prisma, we have two things. We have the invoice and the rows. You cannot see it from here. We have the invoice data and we have the rows data. So we need to divide it into two parts. Okay, we need to divide the invoice. So there is data which is going to come for the invoice: ID, company name, invoice text, blah blah, all these texts, these things here. Okay, and then we have also the row which accepts the table data. So that means when we are sending this data, we must convert it into two pieces. Okay, and how are we going to do that? So before that, here where we have this set preview, all these things here. Okay, so before we set the preview down here, even I think after setting this combined data, whatever, just down here. So I'm just going to come here and I'm just going to put a try catch block. So we're just going to put this a try catch block, and in this catch block you can put of course console.log error for now. And then in this try part, we want to make a request to our endpoint, this endpoint, and we can just say const response, okay, is equal to await. Okay, so since this has to be an async function, and I think we have already done that, let me first confirm that. So this should be an async function. This here, this handle submit, turn this into an async function, as simple as that, so that we don't have a problems with await. So await fetch. Okay, so in the fetch we pass in two things. We pass in the endpoint and we also pass in the options. Okay, so the endpoint is going to be, let me just go first copy this here. So just copy this. I'm just going to copy this endpoint. So the endpoint is http localhost 3000/API/invoice. API/invoice. So this is the endpoint. You can see it here, API invoice. This is the endpoint we are sending to, and then here we are sending the data. So the first thing in the options is the method we are using. It is post. So right here, post. The second one is the headers. So you can just say headers. Okay, and in the headers, you just go ahead and define the content type. So you say content type, and this you set it to application JSON, as simple as that. And then you just put down here comma, and then you have the body, which actually sends the actual data. So here on this body, it is going to take JSON dot stringify. So you have to stringify this data. And now what do we stringify? Okay, so here this is where it becomes very tricky. So here we want to send two things. Okay, I want to send, as you said, I want to send the invoice data. Okay, I want to send the invoice data. Okay, and then I also want to send, so this is going to be whatever data we have here, and then I also want to send the table data. Sorry for that. I also want to send the table data. Okay, so I need to send these two things. I need to send the invoice alone and the table data, because we have to we have these two things. We have this data that we have above, and we have this one, and we are saving them in different tables. We are saving them in different tables. If you look at this, they have two individual tables. That means we cannot mix them at once, so we have to send them when they are separate for easy purposes of figuring what is what. So what is the invoice data? So the invoice data is all this form data plus the logo URL. Remember, the logo, for the logo itself, we are getting it separate, storing it in the state. That's why it ended up here. So we have to first actually get these two, and then we also have this one. Okay, so I'm just going to say just copy this. So I'm just going to have this divided into the invoice data, which is going to be I think an object. So it's going to be an object like this. Is going to be an object where we spread all what is in the form data. So we spread all the keys in the form data, and then we add the logo URL, and then we also send the table data. So the table data is already an array, so we just send it like this. Okay, and wherever you get confused, I have that put in the notes somewhere. So if you scroll on submit somewhere, let's just say on submit, you can see on submit, sorry, just scroll to on submit. So here, so you can see we have here the you have to try this, sending to this endpoint here, and then here in the body we have to do JSON.stringify. So we have it divided into the invoice data plus the table. So this is how we are sending this. Okay, so now of course here, let's just say what. So after we have sent, this is our response. So this is going to be sent, and we could just say if the response is okay, if response okay dot okay, if it is true. Okay, first of all, we can go ahead and console the response. Okay, but here we are going to use, we can use for instance a toaster, and I think I will see if we can use a toaster here, the toaster package, but for now let's just do the console like this. Now I want you to take a note how we are sending this body here. So the way you send the body is actually how you receive it in the API. So take a note, we sent two things. We sent the invoice data and the table data. So this invoice data is spreading all the keys in the form data plus the logo URL, and then here we have this the table data. So when we go to the API route, the first thing is actually to get those things we sent. So we can also first try a try catch block. Okay, and in the try, okay, in the try here, we are going to say const, and then we destructure two things that we sent there. We sent there the invoice. How about copying them from here? So we sent this invoice data and the table data. I'm just going to copy this just like this. Okay, and just going to, I don't want to have issues with spellings, so just paste this. So we sent the table data, which is this, and then we also sent the table data. So we sent these two things. These are the ones you receive, and we will get these ones from is equal to await request dot JSON. Okay, so you can see how we are getting this data. If you want to actually understand that data is coming, just come here. First of all, you could just say console.log invoice data, and then you put comma table data, and then we could just say return next response. So you just say return next response dot JSON. Okay, at this point we can just actually return only the invoice data, just like that. And then if there is any problem, first of all, we want console.log that problem, the error, and then we want to give also return a next response. Okay, next response dot JSON, and inside here we're just going to, of course, to put the error. So you could just say error, and you could also state status. You could change the status, just put here status to be 500 internal server error or something, and then you can return the error. So just try this and see what we are going to get. What we want to confirm from this test here right now is that we are receiving the actual invoice data and the table data from our form. So just go back to the form, just go to edit form, just simply upload. So since we want to upload the logo, I feel like we still have some data in the state. Let me refresh, and let's just go to the console. Okay, let's just go to also to the console, and let's just fill in some things. Just go ahead and use the fake filler, and for this just say our logo design, quantity, just say 1, and then here let's just say 1000. Just put only one item, and then these ones have been filled. I want to upload the logo so that we actually confirm we are actually getting all the fields correct. Okay, so just go, I don't know if I still have the logo. Yeah, it's still there. And let's just click on done. Okay, let's just come here and click on create invoice. Okay, so now you see it has come this side, and now what I just want to know is if the response was sent back. Just scroll up, and I see something here in the response here, but just check on the console. So just maximize this console, just go on this console up here and see if you have the console. So you can see we have the array. So this is the array containing the items and everything. So this is coming right. Okay, and then we have all these things here. So you see we have the another object that is having the company name, invoice, blah blah, all these things here. So this is so nice. And let's check, we have also the terms and the notes plus the logo URL. So everything at this point is so much nice. We have the way we want. Okay, so now of course the next thing is we have two things. Now after we have that data, we have two steps. One, okay, so let me put the steps. One, we have to create the Prisma, okay, Prisma client instance. So we have to create a Prisma client instance that is going to be used to create. So the Prisma client instance we are going to create is going to be used to create, okay, this Prisma client instance is used to create a connection to the database all the time, and also helping us run the Prisma methods like the create, the find, all those things. So this is the first one. Two, we have to create is, of course, we have to, the second one is now is to create the invoice. Okay, is to create the invoice using the invoice data, and of course the third one is going to be creating the table, of course using the table data. So these are the three things we need to do to make sure actually we save to the database. Let's start with the Prisma instance. Okay, so to create the Prisma instance, and we would just create it in here, but the problem is that we don't want, if this project maybe grows, you don't want the problem of creating multiple instances while you're executing it in this place. So just go and create a new folder if we don't already have it, libs. So just create a libs folder. Just create a new folder called libs. And in this libs folder, create a new file called db. So just say db.js. Okay. Now in this db.js, what we want to put is an instance of the Prisma client. Of course, the creating a Prisma client, of course, we could just say const something like const Prisma, okay, and is equal to new Prisma client. We already have Prisma client installed, something like this. This is how the instance of Prisma client looks like. Now, what normally happens is that this one has to be this. It's a function, a class, by the way. This is an instance of the Prisma client, and this one can help us create all the methods we need. It can create the create method, the what, it can call all the methods that we need using this Prisma client. Now, the problem is that when you're just using it in production, not in production, in development, it normally actually creates multiple instances of this Prisma, because all the time you run the other file, you create a connection, you run the app invoice, you will be using this Prisma client, and you end up having multiple instances of Prisma in your project. Now, to avoid this problem, Prisma brought in, you can use a global variable, which is called global this, and we can always check if there is something in the global, we set it to Prisma. Okay, now see how this you change it. Just check here in the, let's check here in this, and I think I put here. Okay, so you can just scroll up like this. Let me just see where I put it under Prisma. So there is why you see this place where we have create a global Prisma instance, and you can see create in libs a folder called a file. Actually, this is a file in the libs folder called db. So first of all, as we said, we have this Prisma instance. Okay, so we just say const db is going to be a global Prisma instance. If this is not there, then we create a new instance, and then after that, and this, by the way, is going to be only if we are in development. So just simply, I'm just going to get this into here, so into this Prisma. Now we are calling it db. By the way, you can still use Prisma where you have used db. For you can use Prisma. I always call this db because when I'm calling into my routes, I want to know that I'm calling this for database issues. That's why I just call it db. So it's going to be db is going to be a Prisma instance that is in global. That's why I say global this dot Prisma. So this is going to be a global instance if it is already created. Okay, or if it is not there, then we create a new instance. Okay, and we say if it is not in production. That is why we are defining this. We only want this if it's not in production. So if it is in development, this is what it means, that the global.this is equal to db. Okay, and then afterwards we export db, and this is fine. So you need this file in your libs, just like this. Now let's move on. So let's move on to, so the first thing we are done with it, creating the Prisma instance. So this is check, we have created this. Now the second one now is actually creating the create invoice method. Okay, so the create invoice is not actually hard. So you just simply need to create an object, and then you give it all this data we have in the invoice. Remember, all our invoice data is here. Okay, so you could just say const invoice is equal to, so now you start by calling the db. So you could just say db, and this db we get from the libs folder. So it is going to be db dot, now we call the name of the model, which is invoice. Now we call on the invoice, we can create now the create method. So this create method takes in an object, and this object takes in is only having the data. So this is the syntax of how we create. This is how you can create a new item in the database using Prisma. So you have this instance of Prisma, and on it you can now actually access all the models. Okay, so that Prisma instance gives us access to the models. So you have access to the model, and then on the model we can create these, we can call these methods. Okay, we can call the create, the find, the what, all these ones, and then inside we provide the object that is going to hold the data. So we only need to define the data here, just like this. And in this data, we just start putting like the invoice. So you start, for instance, says invoice, invoice name, not invoice name, by the way. You have the all these fields we have, where are they? All these ones you see here in this. All these ones, the company name, company invoice author, these ones. So you can just put one by one, like company name. Okay, you just go ahead and just say for instance, company name, company, I have this one here, company name is equal to, so you just say this, and then you put the value, and the value is going to come from the invoice data. So you say invoice data dot company name, just like this. Okay, and then you do this for all the fields. So I'm just going to simply copy this. I already have it done for the invoice. So down here you will see where I have API endpoint. Scroll down here, you see where I have the API endpoint, I have the same thing. have const invoice is equal to await. Okay, and let me make sure I have await here. You is a very big mistake you can do if you don't put await, so it has to await this. So await, and then we have the b.invoice.create, and then we pass in the object that is holding the data. So I'm just going to copy this data, and then maybe I will just explain it. So just come here and let's paste in this data here. Okay, so let's start with this. So we are putting all literally we are putting all the data. Company name is invoice.company name, invoice author, company address, company city, company country, client company, client. All these we just put them like this. Now there is two things that are modified: the invoice date and the invoice due date. Why are we changing these ones? Now in Prisma, okay, in Prisma, when you are storing the date in our Prisma schema, let's just check our schema in a second. So in this schema here, we have this invoice date and invoice due date as the time. Now when you say date time, it must actually have the time part. If you only have the date, it is going to give you an error, as you can see. And they don't have this, like the date alone. If you see this, they don't have this date. The one they have is actually the time. I was trying to look for the date. They don't have only the date, they have the time. Now the date time means it must include the date and the time. If you look at what we are sending, let me show you. If you look at what we are sending this time, we are sending the date in only date. It has no time. Okay, it has no time part, so we have to concatenate the time, and that means it has to be in a format of this, and this is what they call date ISO format. You can just go and type in, like in the browser, like date ISO format, something like that, date ISO format. But this is the format that includes the time, you see. So the ISO standard takes in general specific approach for its date formats. They come first, followed by the months, blah blah, with this. So in the ISO format, it must have a suffix Z, and you can just go and see what the Z means. But I think the time zone is the one that is represented by, you can see they say that the time zone is always 0 UTC offset, as noted by the suffix Z. So Z is the time zone. Okay, yeah, cool. And here, by the way, there is a function here we could have added onto our dates. When you are getting them, you could add this to ISO string, but I'm just simply putting them inside here. So I'm just simply concatenating this this to look like it is having the time on it. Okay, I'm just having it just like this, having the time on it, as simple as that. But you could also go to the invoice date, wherever you're just getting it, and convert it into the it will give you an extra code how to manipulate it from this side. That's why I decided to manipulate it from here. So just only concatenate this here, and this will be okay. Let's not forget to add our invoice, the terms. So just say terms, terms. Let's start with the notes. So just have the notes is going to be invoice data. So we have invoice data dot notes. Okay, put comma, and just say terms is going to be invoice data dot terms, as simple as that. Okay, so we have all this data, and this should be able to create the invoice. Okay, so this one creates the invoice, the one you see here, it creates the invoice, as simple as that. So data, and then takes in all these things. Okay, so this code creates the invoice. Now let's look at how do we create the table, and the table has a lot of drama. Now why am I saying it has a lot of drama? Because under normal circumstances, if you are just making an application that is going to have creating, it is rare case you have this kind of scenario. Okay, for instance, this is a we created a relationship between the invoice and the table data or the table rows. Now this one you would take it, I want you to take an example of a product and a category. Okay, a product and a the category and the product. So inside the category, if you are building, for instance, an e-commerce, you would have the categories, and inside the categories you would have products. So when you are creating in your forms, you would have the categories alone and also the products alone. So these forms are always separate, so that you can first create one thing at a time. For instance, you create a category, and then after creating a category successfully, then you come and actually create the product. Okay, and then the product is alone. Now this is not the case. In this case, we are creating the category plus the products at the same time. Okay, if you think about it, think it in this way: we are creating the invoice plus the rows at the same time. Now that means that we are creating, let me just have the this one, maybe I can illustrate some things. Okay, I might just take remove all this. Just remove these ones. No, I don't want to open. I just simply want to write. Just erase this. Okay, and then I just want to write something, maybe just draw some things here, maybe some text. So we are having here the this scenario right now. As we said, if you have the products, if you have the category, this is really small. So we have here the category, and then under the category we have the products. We are comparing this to our scenario whereby we have the, in this case we have the invoice. Okay, and then instead of products we are having the rows. So this is the same scenario here. Okay, for each category it has products, and even for the each invoice has rows. So this is the same relationship. For the category it has products, for the invoice it has rows. Now how these they differ in terms of implementation in a normal application is that this category will have its own form. Okay, it will have its own form in some place, even a different URL for creating categories, and the same thing to the products, they will have their own URL. And you might not find any problem implementing this, because wherever you're having a create, the endpoint is going to look like this. You will have like a product, or you'll have a category which is awaiting for the data that you get from the form app. Now in our case is a different thing. You are having the invoice plus the rows at the same time. Okay, now the rows is an array which Prisma does not support creating like of an array in a database at the same time. Okay, so that is the first problem we have. We have the rows, but we cannot actually create all the rows at once. That means we are going to have a function a sort of a promise which is going to first wait for creating the rows one by one, and then after that, then we can be able to resolve that promise. Okay, so I was trying to explain what you are going to do here. What I'm trying to say is that it's not going to be possible to do something like this. Const rows, it would be equal to something like invoice. It would be like await db db dot row dot create many. If this method was there and it was working, by the way, if you find it is there, you could tell us. But by now this method is not working or is not there. If you have any workaround, so that here we could pass in the array. Okay, now what we're just going to do is now doing a promise. So I'm just going to say rows promise. You can just name it anything you want, but I'm just making a promise, meaning that it's going to first execute this. So here we have to run a function, or we have to map through our table data. So we have the table data dot map. Okay, and inside we have to create an async function. Okay, we have to create an async function, and here we could give it a name. Do we need a name? Just say async, and then inside here we could now start defining creating a row. So we could just say now const remember, inside here we will have access to a single row, so just say row. Okay, so we'll have access to this, a single row. Okay, so we could just say const, okay, maybe this, I could call it raw data, whatever you want to call it. You have the raw data after you have mapped through this. Inside here you have raw data, and inside here you can just say const a row is equal to await, and that's why I made this one async, because I want to use await. Is going to be db dot row, we call the name of the model, and then inside here we have the create. Now we can call the create, and inside here we can pass in our data very comfortably. Okay, now I've also, after doing this, of course, here we started putting the data, the data we have for the rows. You can see for data for the row we have the description, item description, quantity. So we have these ones. Maybe I can actually copy them from here smartly. Let me see if I can do that. Just copy this, Control C. Let me see if they have copied. So inside the data here, I'm just going to paste this. Okay, so instead here is going to be instead of logo design, is going to be raw data, dot item description, and then for the quantity is going to be the same thing, raw data. Okay, so I also have already this. I can just simply just copy it just here, but at least you have gotten the concept. So I have the promise is table data dot map, and then we have the raw data, and then inside here we can do this row. Okay, just like this. Okay, just like this, const row. So this row like this. What have I messed up? Let me just get only the data, just like this. Just replace this data here, just like that. So we have the invoice ID, I don't think we need the invoice ID. Do we need invoice ID? No. Oh yeah, we need the invoice ID because this invoice, if you remember in the schema, let's just go back to the schema of the row. We have ID, we have item description, quantity, unit price, tax amount, and then we have the invoice ID. And this invoice ID is the ID from the invoice itself, this one. Okay, now where do we have that? We have already have the invoice on top here, this one. So after they have created this invoice, the next one is going to be creating the rows. Now we already have the ID of the invoice at this point. It has already been created, so we can actually capture this invoice inside here, just like this. And then we have item description, which is raw data.the-item description, quantity. Now if you look at the quantity from here, the quantity is a string, so we actually pass int. Okay, we pass int since we don't want quantity to be in points or float, so we pass int raw data.qty. This one is to turn it into an integer. Then for the unit price, you see it is 1000, which is also a string, so we pass in the pass float to convert it into a float. The same thing to the taxi, and the same thing to the amount. Okay, so after you have done this, we have to return the row. Okay, because after ending this, it must return. So return row, just like that. So after you have done this, okay, you have to come at the end here, you have to run this as a promise. Okay, so down here you just have to come and await for all the rows to be created. So that's why we are adding this promise.or. Just down here we have const rows is await promise.or, and then text in promise. What this one means is that is going to create one row at a time. So it is going to run this function to create one row at a time, and that's why we're saying promise.or. And then so you're just waiting for creation of all the rows. When this is executed, now we have it now done. So now what we send back to this side is up to us. We could send back the data. We could just say, for instance, whatever we want from this. I don't think we need anything much from this side, but what we could just do in the response, okay, we could just say return. I could create an object here, and maybe I say return data, and the data we could return could be the invoice, okay, and comma, also the row, okay, or the rows actually. So you could have these two. So you just have the data here, and the data is having the invoice and the rows, and then you could put also the status. I'm just going to say status, and this one, the status is going to be 2 or 1, like the resource created or the invoice created. Now we have already handled this side of the error, so now we should be everything should be okay at this point. We have our rows created, and then we have also our data created. Let's see how many problems we are going to encounter at this point, so that we troubleshoot them. Okay, so let's now go back to our form. I'm just going to go back to edit form. I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, so I'm just going to click upload. Of course, we want everything to be there, so click on upload. So let's upload the logo, and just scroll down to our logo here, click it and click done, just like that. Go ahead, you can just use this fake feeder, and then let me just add here some things that we can see very well. The logo design, okay, and just going to be 1, and this one is going to be $500, this one 0, and then I am going to add web design, also 1, and this one is going to be 1,000, and then tax 0. And for the notes, let me just write here something and say this is a test, this is the test invoice, okay, and then terms and conditions, and you say all is well, just like that. And you say create invoice. So it's going to take some time collecting to the database, and we'll put, of course, also the loading spinner. And okay, so everything looks okay. We are back to this page of this one. Let's look in so we have the response, I guess. So you can look at the response, okay, and you can see it has all these details. I guess this is the one. Let me just drag this here like this. I guess this is the one having everything. Yep. And let's just have now to refresh, or just go to this one and let's refresh. What is there? Refresh. You don't even to go to Prisma. You could just check here in the Prisma Studio, and wow, so we have some data here, okay. Look at that. So we have the company name, author, we have all these things, guys, okay. And let's just go and check for the row, if it actually added the 2 rows. Let's wait and see, guys. Okay, we have 2 rows. We have this logo design, we have web design, quantities, everything looks so nice, guys. Congratulations for this. This is so nice if you have reached at this point. So you have all your data in a database. You can also confirm in here. You can go to your Supabase and you can confirm if this data is there, and the data is there. Okay, so now I want to add some things. So the first thing we want to just add, let me go back to edit form. Okay, the first thing I want to add is that let me just do this. So I want to add 2 things. One, I want to add a loading spinner here. Okay, I want to add a loading spinner onto this. Like if it is loading, it should just show here like creating invoice or something of sort. That is one thing. 2, after it has created, it should show us invoice maybe created, okay. It should show us like invoice created, something like that, okay. Yeah. And then another thing I think we should put is that these buttons, of course, they will change to view invoice, something like that, which is going to take us to the invoice detail page, okay. Okay, and I think we should also put the toast. So I just start with the toast file. So I'm just going to come here and put react, you can just say react toast file. Yeah, just get this react toast file package, and you can just go to the website, or you could just even go come here, just go to react toast file, and there is even react toast. So whichever you prefer, it is all about you. And I think this is what we want. If you click on, so we just want something like that, okay. something like that. Or you could just also use React Toast. So they are, you're not limited. There is another one called React Toast. There is React Toast 2. So you could also check the React Toast. There is React Hot Toast. Just, I think it's called React Hot Toast. Is it? Yeah. Something like that. So you could just use any of these ones, really. Whichever you want. Just say top right. You can see, I think this one is more nice. I feel like it is not just like that, though this one has this nice thing of like going off like that. So it's just all about you, whatever you want. Dude, you have this only to this one, it also disappears after some time. I think we can just use whichever one. I say go documentation, and it is just the documentation, they are always the same. Just click install. So I just think we just use React Toast, Hot Toast, whichever you want. You can use, let me just use this one, looks like clean. So down here I'm just going to install, let me just make sure, create another one. This one is having a Prisma client, Prisma Studio. They just create another instance of the terminal, and let me install the React Hot Toast very quickly. Okay. So okay, we just paste this. Or for some reason it's not pasting. I'm just going to type it is npm install React Hot Toast. So npm install React Hot Toast, as simple as that. Or not that, npm install React Hot Toast, just like that. So just install that, and meanwhile as we're installing it, let's just be implementing it. So the basic usage, you need this. Okay, import this on this here. Okay, just go to the layout on top here. Let me minimize this, and just go on top here, just import this. You actually need only a toaster here. Just need a toaster from React Hot Toast. Next, I think that's the only thing you just need. Okay, let me just see the toast. Okay, you just need now the and just a minute. If we just went back to the home page, there is actually, so there the setting we wanted. Make a toast, preparing a toast, something blah blah. I just want to see the setting here. You see the usage, you have toast.success, and I wanted to change the position, the top center. So for us, wanted it top center. There is top right. Yeah, so we want to just say top right here. So just copy this here on the change the position. Just copy this, right click, copy that, and just inside here before the nav bar, just paste it there. Just as simple as that. So we have put this inside our layout, and this is just like this toaster is just like a what is like a provider. So we are just putting it here inside the layout so that it can be used in all pages. Okay, so when we come to our page, when we get the response, there are some things. If the response is okay, now there's nothing we need from the response like the data or anything. The only thing that we would want really is where is the setting, the other? So we just want this set preview. Okay, so just go and put this here. So we could just have the set preview, so just have this, and then we should just say also put the toast. So it's a toast. Okay, get it from React or toast dot success. Okay, just like that, and then pass in something like an invoice created, invoice created, as simple as that. Okay, so that is one thing. We have put in the toast package, as simple as that. Now second one is the loading state. So I'm just going to go here and get the spinner. So just say, I think, loading indicator. Just put in a loading indicator here on Flowbyte, and they give us a nice like a loading indicator. In fact, you don't need even the loading indicator like this. You just put in buttons. Put in a buttons, and on the buttons, we need a button which has a loading state. So if you just go on these buttons here, scroll down, there is a button with loading state. Let me see, colored, social, payment, outline. There is one which has loader. So just click on the loader. So we have this one something like this. Okay, so what I just need to do is copying this first button like this. Okay, so just come here and copy this button. So what are you going to do is creating a new state. So go in our page and create a new state for the loading. Okay, so on top here, I'm just going to create a new state, const, okay, loading, set, loading, and by default is going to be use state, and by default is going to be false. Yep, so by default is going to be false. And now what we can do is we can use this state, we can change it in our function where is handle submit. So on top of handle submit, okay, so you could just use it in the try here. Okay, because most time is taken here in the response. So when you start on the response here on the try, or even you could just say on top here, you say set loading to true. So this one is going to set loading to true. When we start loading this function, we should set the loading to true. Then when we go and everything is okay here on the toast, we also have set the loading to false. Okay, so you can just say here set loading back to false, because here the response is back and everything is okay. Then after that, we need to show it on the UI where we have the create button. Scroll down, scroll by here where we have this here. So I'm just going to create an if here. I'm just going to say if it is loading, if loading is true, okay, we need to show the loading button, the one I copied here. If it is false, okay, if it is false, then we have to show our button here. So just cut this and let's put it here, just like this. Put this one here. So instead of loading, we're just going to say creating invoice. So you just say here creating invoice, just like that. And let's maintain our purple. So wherever there is blue, we're just going to come and put purple. Wherever there is these blue things here, let's first look at BG blue. So this one just turn these blues into purples, so just like that. like that, like that, like that, like that. So just say purple, just like that. Okay, is there any other? I think that's enough. And then turn this into class name. Okay, so we are done. So when loading is true, once you disable the button, you can't click it. Okay, and then of course type is button, and when it is when it is not true, then we'll show this button, the normal one of submit of create invoice. Okay, so just we have made those changes. Let's go back here. Hoping we haven't broken anything down. We still have our create invoice. Okay, so just go ahead and create the second invoice. Okay, so I'm just going to upload the image. Okay, and this time I'm just going to put in the actual data, by the way. So just upload the image. So look for the, let's look for the logo. So scroll down, get the logo, just like that. Okay, just done. And then let's put the invoice details. This is let's just put these things here. Okay, bill 2. Let's just put here a name of any company here for purposes of doing it. The invoice number, let's get any number here. The date, let's just say month is maybe October 17th 2023. They say 2021 2023, and then we can have the month here again. This one, let's just say month is November 17th 2023. Okay, just go ahead and fill in some data here. Let's just say brochure design. Let's say brochure design. Maybe there were one brochure, each at 100, 1000, and just say create another one. And let's just say logo design. Okay, and let's just say one, and maybe at 500. Okay, let's also go ahead and put in the tax as 0, 0, like that. Okay, so we can just add the notes. Okay, notes, you can just say payments, maybe you can just say payments, I don't know, should be paid in time, just like that. A terms, you could just also give all is well. Okay, so just create now. We see, so click on create. So you can see the spinner is working, so creating invoice. So we wait and see if the state is going to change when the invoice is created. Okay, I just wait and see. And when it delays, we start being anxious if there is any mistake we have done, but just be patient a second and see if there is any problems. Meanwhile, I'm just going to be curious. Okay, this is taking long, and by the way, you can see you can't click it. Let's see if in the console we have something. Let's see, all is well. So the invoice was created. Okay, so the problem is on the response. Okay, I think the problem is on the response. Let's first go back to the invoices here. let me see if there is any other invoice that has been created. Okay, yeah, so the invoice is there, has been created. It is now our problem is actually the state. The state here is not changing, and I think is because of the response dot okay. Let me just go and see. Let me see in the page. So go to where we have this response. By the way, also in the here you must also make sure you also set loading. What if there is a problem? What if the response.ok has a problem? Even here you have to set loading to false. Remember that. And even this I don't know the response, and in the response I'm just going to go back. So instead of just giving this whole response like this, okay, I'm just going to send back so I'm just going to create this data outside. Okay, not going to create it like this. I think there is a problem how I created this. It is not supposed to be like that. So instead I'm just going to say const data const data is equal to, so you could just create this outside here. There is no any issues. The invoice and the rows, and then here you just say return data like that. So this is the best way of returning it instead of writing it. And if you want to change the status, then you put a comma here, and then you put the status to be 201. Okay, so this is the best way of doing it. Okay, so just test again. I'm just going to reload this one. Okay, just going to reload, and this time, since I've already created one, I'm just going to click on fake filler here. It will fill in all this. Let me upload the logo very fast. Click on my files. Let me just go ahead and put this logo just like that. Click done. Okay, just go about and put the rows. Okay, so this time let's just say content writing, maybe 1 and 1000. Okay, and you could just go ahead and put the second one, web design, so 1 at 2000. This one can be zeros, and just with that, they just now try again and see if everything is okay. Click on create, so it starts again, and let's just wait and see. Okay, and seems like the response is already back. Let me check again. I think is it how I'm handling the state on the invoice. Let's see. Invoice, refresh. Let's see. Okay, so it has created. Let's check in the app. It is still actually loading. Okay, so we still have the problem fixing the loading state here. I don't know why it is not changing. First of all, let me change where I'm making it true. Where is this page? Okay, I'm just going to change this instead of putting it up here. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to change it here. Okay, I'm just going to put inside here First, that is the first thing. And then when the response is back, maybe first of all, that means on the response we are not having .ok. Okay, this is also possible because the set preview is not happening, and even the toast, and even this. So instead, let's just put them outside first, and I'm also going to console the response. So put this one outside here, and let's go ahead and console.log response. Okay, console.log response. Okay, and let's do again another test. Okay, and let's just refresh this. So by default it starts when it is false. Okay, let me feed in all the details. So fake fill, upload the logo. Okay, and this one I just put this one. Okay, just done, and just put I'm just going to feed in here some things like logo design again. Since this is for testing, it doesn't matter, just one is okay. Create invoice. Okay, so this time everything works, and we get the toaster, and we have also this invoice done. Okay, now I want to just look at the response. Where is the response? So the response is here. If you just do this, is this the response? Page 66, let me see. Yep, so 66 is this is the one. Let me just continue and see. Yeah, so we have on 66 we are getting this response, and if you just check in the response, and we have okay actually set to false. That's why we're having problems. And status even says internal server error. I don't know why. Okay, it says here the response, it actually creates everything, goes through very okay, and then but then it gives us the wrong thing. Because if you just go here and check in the studio, okay, all these are being created. Okay, you can see these are being created and they are nice, but then the response, I'm not sure why is it having a bad response. Response.json, maybe you could only send the invoice, and it's because of this status. You could even just like only send the data, or you could even send only the invoice. It doesn't actually matter because we are not using the data from here. Okay, return this, and then this side we have console.log error, and then we return next response error and the status of 500. Is this okay here? Let's just do this. First, this is supposed to be like this, and if you just put in, yeah, I think you can just change the status here. Change the status just like that, 500. Okay, let's just do, now everything is working. Maybe testing for the last time, and then we do the fetching of this one, and then we call it a day. Let me just go to back here, but this is really working so well. Okay, you could just go back to the preview invoice, and I think we could just say again create, since the data is still in state and everything is okay. And let's check again if it console the response. Did it console the response? Let's just see where all these ones coming from. Let me just enlarge this. Okay. Yeah, and still is saying I think okay is false. But just not mind about that. The invoice is being created. So we have all these invoices inside the database. We have quite a lot now. If you go and refresh, or you go and refresh here, right now we are having 1 2 3 4. I think we have created the 5th one. So we have 5 invoices in our database. Now the only thing you just want to do is getting this data back. Okay, so in this invoice, let's create another one. So this was the post request. Let's create a get request. So just do the same thing, export exploit async function. I think we need to, okay, let's first do the first one, export async function. Async function, and this one is going to be get. Okay, so takes in also a request. Okay, it takes in a request just like that. And probably what you're just going to do is const, I think invoices is equal to await db. So just say db dot now invoice, okay, dot find. So you're just going to do find many, and then here we could just finish like this. So this one, if you do like this, is going to return back all the invoices. But what we want is to fetch all the invoices, including, so want to fetch, let me put here, want to fetch all invoices, okay, including the rows, okay, including the rows, just like that. So we just want something like this, okay, want something like this to find these invoices with their rows. And what you just do is inside here you can pass in, so let me just go to this link. I don't know if I still have it. So I have this link where you can actually have all the methods you can chain on the find many method. So there is a find many method here, okay, they tell you find many, and find many you can see is here, return a list of records, and these are the things you can put. It has select, include, so it has this include and specify which relations should be eagerly loaded on the returned object. Okay, so this, what we want to do is when we are fetching data, we want to include the rows. So in this you pass in I just have it here. So you get await all the, on the invoice you find all the invoice, then you put in include the rows. Okay, so you can include the rows. I don't know if supposed to be rows or row. Include the rows related to each. I wish we had an example here on the documentation. Do we have any examples showing this? They include, let's just scroll down. Okay, so he has here user awaits Prisma user for find first, and then he said include posts to true. Okay, even on this include author to true. Let's first go and do that. So here we just pass in include, we pass in include, just like this, include, and then let's just include the rows. And this, I did not run these, was the just research I made before I made the video, but we are trying them for the first time, all of us. So just here we are finding all these ones. I'm just going to come here and copy the return, I guess. But do we really need to copy the return? I just do a try catch. So just come here and do a try catch, or just put in a try catch to really somehow capture the errors that might happen. So just put this one here, and then here we're just going to simply return return next response dot JSON. Okay, and I'm just going to return here the message. I say failed to fetch invoices, and you could just also put the error just like that. And you could also just go ahead and pass the, of course, the status of maybe 500 internal server error. And then on top here, let's just go ahead and return these invoices. So just come and say return next response dot JSON. Okay, and they just say return invoices, as simple as that. And I'm just going to also console.log this invoices. Okay, and this one we can test it in the browser. Okay, we can just go and test this in the browser. So on localhost, I'm just going to duplicate this, and instead I'm just going to say invoice, it is localhost 3000 API invoice, just like that. Let's just see what this one returns back. Failed to fetch, and you can see here failed to fetch, and the error is request unknown. Let's just look at the console. You didn't even console.log error here, console.log error, and this might be this. It must be maybe raw true, maybe just like this. And let's try again. We're having failed to fetch the invoices. Let me look in the console. And invalid. Here we have Prisma client unknown request error, invalid Prisma.invoice. So this is we have invoices is await db.invoice.find many. Okay, cannot select both scalars true and a specific scalar field row. Okay, now that is one thing. Okay, so what if I first find without passing in this? So let's first go without passing in this object. Let's just see what we get. Do we succeed here? Still, we have the same problem. Okay, let me just see now the problem now. Let me maximize this. Cannot select both. I think that is the previous one. Did it save? Here, Control S, and let's just make sure everything is okay. Export async function get, and try const invoices is await db.invoice.find many, just like this. Console.log this and response invoices. I don't know why this one should be working. Okay, so here the invoices, here they are, the invoices, they are all here. Now I don't know why the include cannot work, because let's just see here in the documentation in here. Okay, so use the include API to include related records such as a user's posts or a profile in the query response. Use a nested select, blah blah. So we have the user, and I don't know, we are writing include posts to true. I don't know if the model was called posts. Okay, and let's see how this one would look like. It would have something like inside an array. We would want something like this, actually, exactly like this. I don't know. The for example returns a post and its author await Prisma dot find first blah blah author true. Include posts. I don't know why is because I think this is from the Prisma here. In the invoice model, there is where we have actually table data, or I think we should pass in table data. And let's just go to our route, and just down here on invoice, let's just include, so say include, okay, and just say table data to true. Okay, let's now actually do this and see. Okay, reload the page, and yep, so guys, we have the table data included. So you see this one, table data, it is an array having this. Okay, so you can see reading the documentation actually works. Okay, so always just try to read the documentation, relate it with what you have, it always works. So now we have all the invoices plus all this. So what we want is want to display this this data, by the way. So I could go to the libs folder. Where is the libs folder? Here. And let me create another function in the libs folder. get. So I'm just going to say get all invoices, get all invoices, and .js. So you can just say get all invoices, and if you are confused by this name, maybe just say get invoices, say get invoices, as simple as that, get invoices. And this one is going to be export async function, get invoices. Okay, so this one is going to be const response. Okay, const response is equal await get await fetch. Okay, and we're just going to fetch what is the problem here? So get invoices, let's just fetch, and since we already have the endpoint, just go to the browser, get this endpoint. Okay, get invoices and fetch. Let's pass in this, and then let's have the another options, and you can pass the cache, and you just save this to no store. Okay, so by default Next.js will be caching this, but what we want is to get all the invoices in real time. We don't want to be getting from the cache. That's why I'm passing cache to no store, so that it doesn't use the cache. And then getting this, you can say const so we could just say const maybe invoices, const invoices is equal to response. I think it's also await, so you could just say await response.json, await res.json, as simple as that. And you could just come and say return invoices. Okay, so these ones are in here. Now we could just use now this function of get invoices in here in the invoice. So here in the invoice, while we have new, the new is for the creating the new invoice. On the invoice itself, let's create page page.jsx. Now this shouldn't be in the same folder with the new. This one should be careful, in the new folder. In the invoice, we should have now two things: the new folder, which is for creating a new invoice, and the page, which is for displaying the invoices. So we can see now RFC. Okay, and the only thing I just want to actually show on this page is the table. So just go here and let's grab a table. So just type in table here. Okay, let's grab in the table and just get any table. Okay, let's grab in the table just like this. And we just need the one which has like this view, but I'm just going to go to the one that has a header, I guess. Let's see if I can find one which has a header. Just scroll to the one which has a header. Okay, but you can just put the header by yourself. Just get the simple one, and then we'll put our header, the header ourselves, I guess. Maybe we could just grab this one. It seems to have like a header or something. Okay, let me just grab this one. So copy this, come here, and inside here just put return, and inside put this. So the first thing we want to do is replacing all the they write return badly, not return, remove this, and let's just see return should have this inside, and then we have the end of the stuff down here. I think this is supposed to be inside, I guess. Just save and see if it can format. It's not formatting. Can I remove all these? I think to format itself. Just remove and save. What? Okay, let me just remove this RFC, and inside here let me just paste this. Just go back, copy this, and just replace this with that. Save. It should be able to format it. Okay, so let me just go back to this. Okay, I cannot imagine it is just taking our time just like that. Just the first thing is get this class, Control F, Control H to replace the class with class name. Okay, class name, just enter like that. Now on this table we don't need actually the many things. We just only want to show the link where we can get a detailed stuff. So right now if I go to invoice, not new but just invoice, I should have a table. Let's just wait and see. I should just have a table here. Okay, so I have the table here, a really easy table, and you can just go ahead and maybe add something like container mx auto, and the only thing I'm just going to do is this thing you have here on top. So we have this table having the caption. Okay, there is this caption, so you could just put even this caption outside. Okay, whatever you just need. I don't know if this needs to be inside the table really, but you could just go ahead and remove this whole thing, the caption thing. Just remove it from the table and let's put it outside. So here let me just say dot flex, and let's add these things. And this caption here, the p tag, I do not want this. Okay, I just need to put a create button. Okay, so just have this as h2. So just have h2 here, and this one is our invoices. Okay, I'm just going to give it a class of text, maybe 3 Excel, and maybe I'm going to say text, maybe purple, 700. Okay, and then down here just going to have the invoice. I think we have the link. I can copy from the somewhere. Which component can I copy from? I can copy from the hero section. the create invoice link somewhere. Create invoice. Is this the theme link? I guess title create your first invoice. And does it take? Yeah. So just go ahead and copy this. Okay, just going ahead and copy this. If you remember, we created this link thing in our first episode. So I'm just going to go to our invoice page where we have this our invoices, and I'm just going to paste it down here. First import this. Let's first import the theme link. Okay, and we don't need to put them in the caption really. Just remove this. I know the HTML here is not hard, but just bear with me. I first just put this UI together very fast. I'm just going to remove this whole thing, the caption thing, this one, and then just simply paste this, and then we can just give this one a justify of space between and align items center. Actually just is items, so just the items center. Let's look at how bad is it. Let's see. So we have our invoices. Okay, the outline arrow is not defined. Actually, we do not need this, so remove the icon. Okay, just like that. So it should be able to show now. Okay, so the only thing that is missing is 1. So to this, let's add the padding. So px, let's add px of 8 and padding y of 8. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, so that looks much better. Our invoices, and here we can put the count of the invoices, or you could just say your invoices, whatever. Yeah, your invoices, and in bracket here I'm just going to put the count of the invoices. Let's say if they are maybe 10, we should have them like that. Someone can see that they have maybe 10 invoices. Okay, now all these things we're just going to remove them, and this is where you could add the invoice name in the first place, but right now you're just going to use the client name maybe as the invoice name, and then here we just have the link for view invoice details. Then all these ones I'm just going to remove them. I will leave the ID and the invoice, only 2. So just down here in the table, in the header, we need the ID. Okay, you just need the invoice name, and maybe even invoice ID. So let's start with the invoice ID actually. Let me see up here. So yes, start with the invoice ID. So this one, invoice ID. And then here we could also say invoice name, that is the second column, and then these columns of category, remove this, price, remove that, and then on the edit we need this one. Okay, so they just give it view invoice. Okay, just call it view invoice, and maybe we could also show the date. Yeah, the date is somehow important, so just add one, invoice date, something like that, invoice date here. Okay, so that is great. We have those columns. How many columns do we have? we have invoice ID, name, 1 2 3 name, and we have this last one, which is I think a screen reader only. This one is not seen. Okay, so just go ahead and change this one, change these ones. So just leave only one row. Other rows we are going to remove them since we are going to map through our data. So remove these ones, remove these here, and let's just have the th. Okay, so what do we need? We need this first one, th. Let's just say this one's supposed to be the id. Let me put 1. The second thing is supposed to be invoice name, so here maybe just leave silver. The third one is supposed to be invoice date. Okay, so the third one is supposed to be invoice date, maybe say October 22nd blah blah 2023, I don't know. And then we have this, remove this, and let's have the link going to the invoice. Okay, so this is the data we want. Okay, this is the data we want here on the invoices page. Okay, want to have all these invoices listed here, and you could just give a say a max width. This page doesn't need to be huge like that. So here we have give the container, we could give a max width, okay, and you could do something like max width of maybe 5 pixels. Okay, you could just do this and see, maybe 4. Let's first see for what it gives. We just need this to be really small. I think this is too small. 5. Okay, this one is fine. And maybe you could just give a margin top. Let me just go ahead and give a margin top of 8. Just to simply just push it a little bit down. Okay, where am I giving this margin top? Let me just say 16. Okay, this is going to work. So we have the create invoice, and it doesn't need just to say create your first invoice. Just say create invoice here, create invoice. Okay, and then the link is okay, it's taking us to new invoice. Now the only thing just to populate in to loop through and our data here. So let's first get the data. Okay, let's get the data here on the page. This one you can make it capital P. So just come here and say const invoices is equal to await get invoices from the libs. So this function we created here is when she's having the invoices. So make this component async. So just come here, export default async function. Okay, so this one should give us the invoices back, and we could go ahead and test that. Console.log invoices on this page. So just first check if the invoices we are having them on this page. Just refresh. Okay, and let me go here, and let's see if on this page we have the invoices being fetched. And seems I'm not seeing anything on onto this page. Okay, navbar, I'm seeing only navbar. Let me just reload again. And oh, okay, so this is server side. I was checking in the client. This is server side and they are here. Okay, so you just don't need to check that side, you check in the client, in the server side. This is server side component, so they are just consoling on this. So we have the invoices. So the only thing is to map through the invoices. And so first of all, we can get here the invoice.length. So here you just say invoice, just simply say invoices.length. This should be it, just invoice.length. It's just add here the number of invoices that are there. Let's first see the amount here, 5. Okay, so that's good. So just go ahead and map through. And by the way, since we're having this one loading, we can just add a loader. So you just go to your app. Inside the app, just add a file of loading, loading.js, and by the way, that is the name you should give it. And then rfc, so create this component and give this one as loading, capital L. Okay, so here you could put anything that is going to be loading, maybe h2, you could just say loading, or we could just get our button. So go back to our button, go to this one and search for buttons. Just here search for buttons, just like that. Click on CSS at the tailwind buttons, and on the buttons we want the one which is loading. Just come here on loader and copy just this first one. Did I click on loaders? Yeah, so just copy this first one, just like this. Okay, and just add it here, as simple as that. Just change everything that is in class to class name. I think it is only one. Ctrl F, there too, just replace them. Okay, so now this one is going to load whenever we are loading anything on server side. Okay, like when we are fetching data in our invoice here, it is going to load. Okay, so they just go to this page now here, and let's map through all these invoices. So come to where we have this tr, just like this, actually inside the body. So inside the body where we have this tr, just simply do this and cut it, and let's just map through. So we have invoices. Okay, if they exist, then let's see the map, and then on the map we have a single invoice. Okay, we have a single invoice, and we can also get its index, or if you wanted you could use invoice.id. I just get this just like this, and then return. Let's return. Okay, let's return like that. Okay, we are turning a single row. Okay, so what we just need on this actually is the first one is the invoice ID. So here let's first put the key before we forget. So here the key, so just put the key, just put the key is going to equal to invoice.id. okay, and this is the same thing we just want to put down in here, invoice.id, just here, and then here we're just going to put invoice dot, so here we could just put the client, we could use the client, client maybe name, I don't know what was the thing. They just copy from here. So you have client city, client name. I just need a client name. Do we have client company name or something like that? Just go to the data that is here. This is the one which is clear. So we have client company. So just use client company. Okay, we just use the client company. Okay, just here invoice.client company, and then we have the date. Okay, we have the date. Let's first leave the date. Let me put the link here. So now the link we want is to go to this, of course, to this invoice. Is going to be inside the invoice. We are going to create a new thing. So put a folder here, and inside this folder just put brackets and then put ID, just like that. Okay, and then inside it create a page inside this this folder, which is how we get dynamic data. So just put a new page dot jsx and just write RFC. Okay, and this is the detailed page. You could just say the invoice page, whatever you just want to call it. And this one is the invoice page. Just say invoice page, just like that. And this is where we want to send this person here on the invoice page. So it's just stroke invoice. So it is on invoice, and since it's going to be dynamic, this one, put it in here, put this one, and just going to say stroke invoice, and then we pass the ID, which is going to be on the invoice.id. So it is invoice.id. Okay, so that is it. And for the date, now this date, remember, it was, if you remember here, this date, that's how it looks like. The date looks like this. So you have to take it back to the normal date. So you could first find it on top here, the normal date. You could just come on top here. Okay, and you could just, before the return function, we could just say const date. Okay, or invoice date. Invoice date is going to be equal to, so we have to get this normal invoice date and we convert it using to I think it is called to local string. I have it noted somewhere, the date. Okay, so I have it, the date, somewhere here. So when you're just converting the date, this is the one we have in the database in this format. So want it to be in this format. I'm just going to get this, and let me just put it here. Okay, can I just reduce this so you guys can look properly? Okay, so now I have these options. I want the date to be of this format, to have the year in numeric, month, long, day, numeric, and then you say const this one is the invoice date is equal to new, and then we pass in the invoice dot date. I think it is invoice dot invoice date. I guess, let me check on the object. We could check here on this object, we get the actual name. It is invoice date. Okay, so here we pass in the new date, and then we pass in this invoice date to local date string, and then the options, we pass in the options and the undefined to use the local date string. So let's just see if we have something here. Okay, so we have all the date. No, not the date here. let me just go and put the actual date, actually this invoice date here. Let me just put the invoice date and see if that one changes. Let's wait and see. Okay, yeah, so this is fine. Okay, this is fine. October 17, this is the one we did. So we are fetching all the invoices on this page. You can see we have all the invoices a person has been creating. So when someone creates an invoice, this is so nice. When someone creates an invoice, it should redirect them onto this page, and then they should click here and they say view invoice. Let me change this text here, or instead of just say view invoice. Okay, so you can just go ahead and add those many things. Someone can download all of them at once, blah blah. But right now just say want to view invoice. So if I click on view invoice, it should be already working. It should take us to invoice/1. Okay, let's just wait and see. Okay, so you can see it takes us to invoice/ like the invoice ID, and then you can see here we have invoice page. So on the invoice page actually is not very complicated. We are going to call one of our components, which is the preview, the form preview. So if you look at the form preview, we already have it on the page. So if I go back to the page, not this page, to this page here, invoice new page, that is why we have this invoice preview. Okay, so we have the where is the preview? Where is the preview? We have the form preview, and you can see it takes in this combined data. So I'm just going to go to this, call this form preview. So where is the, go to this detailed place and just get here this, instead just want to show here two things. So want to show the print still. So we still want to show we could show still the print functionalities on this page, I guess. Okay, let me just put here the flex on top. Okay, this here we can put the buttons we need here. Just going to put the buttons, then down we can put this form component, form preview. Let me just get it here. So here on top we saw the buttons we want to send. For instance, now we have the thing of sending the email. We can now send the email. Since we have this, we are going to have the sending of email and print. We have the two buttons here, and then we have this preview now. Okay, now this data here, we have to fetch this data and bring it here for a single invoice. Okay, we have to fetch data for a single invoice. The other side we had all the invoices. Now if we wanted to be crazy, we'll do it on the front end, but I think we don't need to do it on the front end. We could find a particular invoice and we get that data. Okay, let's just go and see. Let's just go and see here. So just go to the API invoices, and inside here I'm just going to create another route. So I'm just going to say inside the invoice, just create a new folder, and this new folder is going to be in the same thing, just like this. And then inside here I'm just going to create route.js. okay, I'm just going to go into this route, and I get this get here, this one here, and let's bring it inside here. Okay, and we can first bring a few things like next response. We can also bring things like db Okay, now this one is of course different because it needs to get the params. Okay, so you can put the request, or you can even remove the request and put a comma and put we have to receive the params, and from the params we can get the ID. Okay, now we're going to use this ID to fetch for a single let me see, the of course we have an error in here. Let me just first go to this detailed page, and let me first take off this for a second. Okay, and we can just go to the documentation of Prism, where they have all these methods. Okay, you can just go and find the methods. There is find unique. Okay, you could just go on this find unique, or find first. There are these so many here. I find this find unique lets you retrieve a single database record by ID or a unique attribute. Okay, so this is cool. Let's just look at how you use it. Okay, find unique. Let's just go scroll down here, and you see it also takes in a where, select, and include. Okay, so you can also specify include. Okay, and for instance they give us here how you're supposed to use it. So just copy this just like that. So just go to this route. So we have the ID here, so I'm just going to come here. You could just say const, and this is we are getting a single invoice. We are getting a single invoice, and await Prisma dot this one is going to be invoice. Is going to be invoice. Okay, find unique. Okay, and say where ID is equal to ID. So you just have this, and if it is just in this case, you could just simply just pass in the ID like this. Okay, and then we have the invoice, and then we have to pass the include. Okay, we have to pass in the include. So if you are passing in include, I don't know how we pass that. Let me just see. They did not demonstrate the if you are passing in the include, but just put it like a comma. So we have this where, and then let's put this include just here down like that. And let me remove this one, and console.log invoice, and next response invoice, and down here fail to fetch invoice. Okay, so we also have this endpoint done. Okay, we have this endpoint done. Let's first see. So we are getting in the params, we are extracting the ID, and this ID we are using it to fetch a single invoice. Okay, so just go and try to test this. So at least we have some IDs already. Okay, so for instance we have ID1, ID2, blah blah, like this. ID1 is there. So just go and see ID1. Okay, so invoice API invoice, and just pass in 1 and see if you can get a single invoice. So this is what we want from this, and it says failed to fetch. So I'm just going to first remove this part of include. Okay, the way we did last time, and see if I can get that. And for this, I don't know if the request is needed, but just leave it, and let me just do again. not getting. Let me just go to the console, see the problem. So scroll down. ID, where ID is this? So they are getting the invocation. I think the ID needs to be an integer, is getting a string expected int. Okay, so that one could be easy, where ID is equal to, so let's just say pass back, we could just say pass int, and we pass in the ID, and let's just see again. Now refresh. Okay, so we are getting it, and that is good. So just go ahead and put the include. So I'm just going to say include just like this. So we are just including the table. It was table what? Table row true. Let's just see if that one is going to work. Let me just confirm from the, we could just confirm actually from the other one, this one, the include thing. Yeah, I think it's this table data. So just copy this include. Let's include it into this one. It is table data, so include table data true. Let's just again go and fetch. Okay, so we are fetching and all the table data is included here. This is really great, guys. We are doing so good. Okay, so we have the invoice, we are getting it, and we are adding the table data. So now let's go and get this stuff. So I'm just going to go create another function. Okay, so in our libs, so get invoice, so you have get invoices. Yes, get invoice by id.js, and I'm just going to simply copy this whatever is here and just put it inside here. And let me just first change the name of the function. So this is get invoice by id, get invoice by id, just like that. And it takes in an id, it takes in an id. And now onto this fetch, we have to change this. So put this into this backticks, and then here we have to chain the id. So just put slash, and you say $id. This id we are passing in here, we chain it on this request, and this is our response. Then say const invoice is equal response.json, and let's return the invoice. So this is really easy, getting the invoice by id. It needs an id, and whenever we are fetching it, we pass in the id in the request. Okay, and now we can just get this on our detailed page. So on the detailed page here of the invoice here, we can just go ahead and say const invoice okay, is equal to await. So you're just going to await get invoice by id, and this needs an id. Okay, we need to pass in id, and where does this id comes from? It is going to come from this page. So first make this one async. Let's make this async, and then let's just say params. So here we can get params from this page. params, and on these params we can destructure the ID. Okay, this is how we get, since this is a server component, so in server components we have access to the params in this format. Okay, you can first say you get the params, then from params you can get the ID. ID is just like an object on the params. That's why I'm destructuring it in this way. Now we can get this invoice. Now if this invoice is there, now we can pass the data of this invoice into this. Okay, let's first actually console.log invoice. Okay, we could just first here say console.log invoice. Okay, and let me just go back to the invoice page here, refresh. Okay, and as it is refreshing, after refreshing, I'm just going to check on the console, and you can see the loading is there. We are going to put it in the center in a second. But if I just check in the console now, I must have the invoice. So you have the invoice here with actually all the data. So what I want to see is how it is arranged. Okay, so you can see it has this object with all the data, and plus, let's just go down, and plus the table data. So this is good. I think it is in the same format we want it to be, like the combined data. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to get this like this and pass in the invoice just like that. Now let's see if we have any errors. Okay, just reload, and we have a nice loader loading. I'm just going to put in this, and they say use state only works in client components. Use client directive on top of the file to use it. Okay, so let's go to this form. This should be a use client. So this one, just make this one use client. Okay, and this should fix it. So it should fix it. Let's see. And it's loading. Voila! So we have the invoice, and this time the invoice is there forever, and even if we refresh, the invoice is there, it's not going anywhere. Okay, dude, this is really great. We are going to work on this date in a second, but this is really great. We have our invoice now, not interrupted, coming from the database. Okay, so I'm just going to put this the print button, but before that, let's work on this invoice date and invoice due date. So I'm just going to go to this page. Okay, let me just go to this page. Where is it? The normal page where we worked on this invoice thing. Yeah, this one here. I'm just going to copy this part. For the date, just copy this, Ctrl C, and then I'm just going to, after copying this, I'm just going to take it to the form preview. So on this detailed page, go to the form preview. So where we are having the date, so we have our invoice date and this one. Okay, so I'm going to redefine these ones, but how? Okay, so we have them there. We could just come here, and where we are having the date, we could just, I think, still do const, just put here this const here. So I just need to just say const. You have options, okay? So we can just say const invoice date. We cannot have the invoice date, we already have it defined. Just say have new invoice date, okay? And it takes in here date and takes in invoice date, the normal invoice date, okay? So we have the new invoice date, and we're also going to have new due date, new due invoice due date, new invoice due date, and this one should take in the due date, invoice due date, okay? So now this should work. Now we just go and put these ones yeah. Now to show them even on the preview, I don't know how you're going to do that, but let me just come here to the dates. Where are the dates? Invoice number, invoice company, bill to, where the invoice number. So we have invoice due date here. Yes, use new invoice, this was invoice date, and then there is invoice due date. So you just say here new invoice due date. Let's see if this actually changes the format here. Okay, so it changes the format. Okay, so that is great, it changes the format, and this is looking nice. Now the only thing we need is to put these two buttons, and on this one we need two buttons, the print button and the send. Okay, so let me just go to our page, this side on the new page. So we have already some buttons somewhere. Let me see, our buttons are here. So I'm just going to copy this div which has these buttons. They are inside the preview. Just copy them just like this. If the preview is true, span preview, blah blah, handle print, we have these buttons. Let me just copy this, and let me hope inside, what is inside here that I'm copying? I just need these they send, I think the ones I want, they are here. Just copy this here, this one, and let's take it to this detailed page. So is a detailed page, invoice detailed page here. So where there is buttons here, let me just put this. So we have the send, and let's make sure we import this React from this send, and we have save online. We don't need save online right now. What we need is the print. So I'm just going to go and get the print from the page. Just go to this new page, and let me just get the print, this one, this button here of the print. So copy this and to this, and just replace it with this one. Replace it with this one. Okay, replace it with this one, and these ones we need just to give them justify. We could just leave them nearby or we put side by side. Okay, let's just see how they look like. Now we have to bring this handle print function. So still go to this new page and let's get some of these things here. Handle print, it is just here. Okay, just do this. Just go to this detailed page. Let's bring in our handle print function. So on top here, we might get problems in a second. Okay, we might get problems, more especially with this handle print function. We might actually put this in its own. Yeah, these we're also going to have these ones in a separate. You're going to see the reason why, but let me first show you the reason why. So after putting these inside here, let me show you. Let me bring this React print from React print. So if I just try to view this, they are going to give us a use client problem. Let me just hope not, but they might give us because all on clicks, I guess they are supposed to be in use client. They are in a use client, and I think that is the error you're going to get. So you can see constructor is null, blah blah. Okay, so this is not even a problem, even if we just even if we wanted here the what, where is it? So they're just looking for this ref. You could just come here to this and we give it, let me just define it. So content invoice ref, we have to already, that already shows you if you define this, if you go and define these refs here, where is the ref? If you go and define this ref, where is it? Where is it? So we have this ref that we defined on top here somewhere. Must have defined it somewhere here. So we have this invoice ref. If I put this invoice ref in this detailed page, it will cease to be a server component. If I do this and I get this hook from React, like so, if I do that and I come and I define this ref here, and even if I just said ref is equal this invoice something, was it invoice ref? Invoice ref, like this, it will throw another error saying that you cannot use client in a server component, and you can see here you are importing a component that uses use ref. It only works in the client. So now to solve this problem is that these buttons, they have to be in their own component. Okay, they have to be in their own component. So what I'm just going to do is, in this video, at least we have worked on this. I think we shall start implementing these two. Okay, let me just go to ID here. Let me remove actually all these the use ref thing. Okay, and we just implement all this in the next video, where we'll have actually the final episode, I guess. I believe it should be the final episode or the second final episode. Okay, so here I'm just going to remove this handle. This should only have the invoice. To just have this fetching happen, this must be a server component. Okay, this must be a server component for this one to happen. So all these buttons, they will be all taken to some other place. Let me comment them. And then even this ref, let me remove this ref. So right now we should have no any errors. We should have our stuff working properly now. Loading, and this loading I'm just going to put it in the middle of the page. So just go to the loading, okay, and this one, give it a class name, give it height screen. So just give this one a height of screen, give it a flex item center and justify center, just to make sure that this is always in the center. Let me reload. Did it reloaded? Really, like, just so in the center here. Yeah, so you can see now loading, and then it gives us this. Okay, you could just go ahead and give this some padding or margin. I think we could just give this sort of like margin Y of maybe 8 to give a breathing space. Anyways, we are going to put the button on top. It doesn't matter. We'll have the buttons on top. Okay, we'll have the buttons on top, so they will put the padding. So this here, we are having our invoices, and you can go back. You should just put a button going back to the invoices. So if I just click on another one, let me click on this. Okay, and you can see it is loading the resources very well. I think we should just have a back button. A link has no problem. We'll put the link in the next episode. We'll just make sure this one is working properly. I like the where we have reached. Now this is very easy right now. It is getting this link here now. When we click on send email, we'll be sending the link to this page actually. So someone just comes and views the invoice onto the actual page like this. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this episode, guys. I love you so much for watching. If this content is making sense for you, please just subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can continue growing the platform and also the content. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.